guys, how are we doing?
Good.
My name is Kotopka, and I'm here to talk about something that I feel is very important for us to consider for ourselves once every year. But first, I'd like to talk about, actually want to roll back a few months, back to September, so the start of fall season. A lot of things come into mind when we think of fall, things like football, kids back in school, things like that, holiday season coming up, family and friends. It brings a lot of excitement for us, right?
Right.
But one thing that comes in mind, and we see a lot of advertisement about, is the flu vaccine. So we do not get excited about the flu vaccine, most of us, but a lot of us actually disregard the importance of it and make excuses of why we shouldn't get it. And I want to talk about some of the excuses that we do use and not looking at the importance of it. And I also want to talk about some of the complications that we can face if we do not get a flu vaccine. And then I'd like to talk about how the choice of choosing to get the flu vaccine, how it impacts others around us, our family, our friends, and even those in the community. So first off, some of the reasons and excuses we make for not getting a flu vaccine. You know, the first one a lot of us look at, or a lot of things that we look at, give us facts of why we decide not to get a flu vaccine. And when I say that, we might hear on the news or read on the internet that last year the flu vaccine wasn't very effective. So, for example, Harvard Health Publications said that last year only 23% of recipients of the flu vaccine were actually protected from the flu virus. So typically it's 50 to 60%. So when we hear data like that, we say, why? Why do we get a flu vaccine? But Harvard Health Publications also educates us that every February, the World Health Organization and the Food and Drug Administration revamp the flu vaccine for the next year. So they look at what kind of circulating viruses have been really in about 100 countries they look at, and they kind of formulate it for the next year. So it's not going to be the same flu vaccine that we got the previous year. So that brings me to another point, and that is that we need to get one every year. A lot of times we also make the excuse that I got one last year, I'm protected for this year, I don't need to get another one. But it does change from season to season. So another excuse that we find ourselves looking at is the mercury found in vaccines. A lot of us do not like to be exposed to mercury if we don't have to. And we might just have a misconception that mercury is found in every vaccine. But it's actually not. Per KevinMD.com, thimerosal is actually a preservative that's put into multi-dose vials of different vaccinations, including the flu vaccine. So it's not in every flu vaccine, only multi-dose vials. Thimerosal is a preservative, and it prevents contamination when people are drawn out for multiple doses. Usually I think it's 10 out of a vial, so it just prevents bacterial growth. So if you're worried about mercury, you can still get a flu vaccine. You can get the flu mist, which is a one-time use. It does not contain mercury. Or you can choose to request a single-dose vial flu vaccine. So I know this sounds crazy. Can we really request that? But you can. You know, you educate yourself and you call the facility that you're going to use and you ask them, do I have an option at your facility? And if you don't, you have an option to go somewhere else. You don't have to choose that facility just because they do it a certain way. You have many options. So that would disregard mercury completely. So another misconception or reason why we elect not to get a flu vaccine is because, and this is probably a big one, it's going to give me the flu virus. It's going to give me it. It's going to give me it. So, but in reality, per the CDC, it does not give you the flu virus. So the injection is actually not even a live virus. The nasal spray is a weakened strain of live virus, but neither can actually give you the flu. So it's really not a concern. Now, the CDC does talk about the fact that there are side effects that come with getting the flu vaccine. So you can feel a little achy, sore, redness at the site of injection, or runny nose or congestion if you get the nasal one. So even a low-grade fever, but these are just minimal compared to actually getting the full flu. And the other thing to think about is it takes 2 weeks to get antibodies inside your system to actually fully protect you from getting the flu. So you might be exposed to the flu virus and within those 2 weeks. So you really Okay, so we might come up with an excuse that we are fearful of needles. We are not getting a vaccine because I don't care what the vaccine is, I'm not getting a needle put in my arm. But if you're between 2 and 49 without any health complications, you can get the intranasal. And there is another thing coming. It's not very much widespread available yet, but it is. It just came out in 2014, but it will be. That's what I want to tell you. It is needleless, and it injects into your arm with pressure. And it sends a stream of fluid, and yeah, if you pull it up on the internet, it's pretty awesome to watch. It just sends it right through, no needle at all. So that's coming. But it is a multi-dose vial, or it's coming from a multi-dose vial, so you're going to have that mercury in it. But that's the downfall of it. But it is up and coming. So it was a new FDA approved in 2014. So I think it's going to make its way around. Just because a lot of people do not like needles, even though the flu vaccine, the needle is pretty small, but we still don't like needles. So anyway, now I want to go to the complications that come with getting the flu, or can come with getting the flu, that we can dodge possibly, or increase our odds of dodging if we get the flu vaccine. And that is, for the CDC and Harvard Health Publications, bacterial pneumonia. So once you get bacterial pneumonia, you're going to miss work, you're going to possibly be in the hospital, and incur more costs in this time. So it's not a complication that we want to face. The other complication that can stroll down into many arenas is the inflammation that the flu causes. I mean, if you've ever had the flu, you're achy from head to toe, and that's because you have systemic, all over inflammation everywhere. So it increases your risk of cardiac issues and stroke. And other complications that can spiral from it. So with getting the flu vaccine, it decreases your chances of getting the flu and decreases your chances of complications as well. So for me, it's just starting to sound like a no-brainer and getting that little flu vaccine one way or the other. So the next thing I want to talk about is the impact not only on ourselves, but those around us on the flu vaccine, or getting the flu vaccine. The CDC says that we are contagious one day before we actually become symptomatic. So if you start thinking about how many people you come in contact in one day, the CDC also wants to educate us on the high-risk groups, which are children under 5, pregnant women, and adults over 65. So as we're out shopping and doing things, and we're not realizing when we even have the flu, we are passing it around to others. So you figure if you sneeze, it goes 3 to 6 feet. So say this is germs, and these are big old germs, thank God they're not that. But if I sneeze and throw it on you, and then it hits you and goes into your nose, or I infected 4 people, sorry.
She's already got it.
I infected 4 people because I didn't even realize I had the flu. So what if somebody said, can I borrow your pen? And I'm like, sure, I don't even know I'm sick. I give you my pen, I did this, gave you my pen, you took it, you won't even take it. And then you use it, and then you rub your nose, put your hand in your mouth, or even eat, So then I've infected someone else. What if I've infected someone that is in one of those high-risk categories, and then faces the complications of the bacterial pneumonia because they're at high risk and hospitalizations? You think about babies that under 6 months can't even get vaccinations. So you think about one of them getting it and landing in the hospital, it's pretty tough to think about. So it's actually a big role that we can play for our own health and those around us by getting the flu vaccine. So that's how I feel, and those are the facts in supporting getting a flu vaccine. I want to end with this. As a healthy adult, we may be able to get through the flu in 5 to 7 days and be okay. All right, so I would like to end with this. As a healthy adult, we may not face the complications that come with the flu. We may be able to get through it in 5 to 7 days and have some remaining fatigue after. But what about the people that we're exposing to in that window period of the 24 hours? Even if we don't realize we have the flu in the couple days, we're contagious for 5 to 7 days, or even our family at home. How many people are we exposing during our time period of illness that are in that high-risk group? So, isn't it our moral duty to protect our population and those around us? The young children, pregnant women, and the older adults. This is something that is very small that we can do to help those around us without really asking too much. Stop by Publix, CVS, Walgreens. It's convenient, really. I mean, in our community now, it's so easy to get a flu vaccine. We don't have to make an appointment and jump through all the hoops, and it doesn't consume as much time as it did years ago. So please do the right thing and stop by one of the places. I'm going to give you a list of all the local areas of places that offer the different flu vaccines, the cost of them, and this is actually National Influenza Vaccination Week. So it's a perfect time to get your flu vaccine. So do you have any questions? How many people have received their flu vaccine? 1, 2,
Yes, I'm
3, 4. Ooh, all right. So have I convinced you today?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your attention today, and I appreciate